Hey everyone, and welcome to the Eye Opener Society. Welcome back, everyone. I am glad everybody joins us again. Hannah and I behind the scenes, we've been busy, a lot of changes going on, and Hannah's here with us, right?
Yeah, I
There she
was.
is. I was waiting for a
Hi.
hi. Most people missed you because the last episode we did with Lynn Jordan from Urban Lady Prepper was a historic episode because you were not with me in the studio that
Yeah, I
day.
took a last minute trip. I needed to get away, have a long drive, and
Mhm.
I did that for myself. So it
Yeah.
was nice, but I definitely missed it. But I can't wait to hear it. It's going to be so weird listening to like my own podcast that I was not on.
Yeah.
But thank you, Brittany, for stepping in. I appreciate it. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. We did a great episode. But yeah, it's nice to have you in the studio, but you're here, and with you being here, this is going to be another episode that's kind of taking us again in another direction because
Mhm.
you brought up this one,
I did.
and it really kind of sparked me to bring up a lot of stuff with this episode.
Yeah.
And then I had to hit the brakes real hard because I want to plan a show with our friend Chris Tell from Twisted Tales podcast where we kind of collaborate on this because he does a lot of this stuff. But then I'm like, wow, sometimes when you talk about mainstream stuff, it can either get you in trouble or whatever. It's kind of odd. And I want to put the brakes on some things, but I'm still going to make some solid points on this one.
Yeah.
Um, this one, for most of you, I'm sure if you're anywhere near social media, you probably heard the name Aubrey Wyatt. And that's what this show is really going to be about. Because I think she needs a voice right now because she is no longer with us. And Hannah, how did you find it? Because quite honestly, I'm on social media more than anything, but I don't look at anything mainstream. So you brought it up to me. I had no idea about any of this.
Yeah, so I'm a big TikTok scroller. Most people my age are. And I just started seeing these videos like saying, say her name because her mom can't. And obviously I'm like looking through the comments, I'm clicking like the hashtags of, justice for Aubrey. And the first thing pops up is suicide awareness. And from my experience of life and my own attempt, I was like immediately like, what happened? And her picture popped up, and she's a 13-year-old girl who is no longer here, and it just immediately just took me in. And my heart just broke and sunk in that moment, and I just was clicking everything and anything just to figure out what broke this little girl, like what happened to this little girl. So it was just something that when I brought it up to you, I was like, I have to do something. Like I have to get her name out there. Like I want people to say her name.
Yes, and I felt the exact same way because when I started reading through the story, I was like, it brought me back to our episode. It reminded me a lot of you, and I said the biggest difference here is you are here, and here's a 13-year-old girl who is not, and it's heartbreaking. It really is. What's even more heartbreaking is the story behind it because stuff like this could be so preventable. And we're going to get into a lot of it, but I'm leaving a lot of this mainstream social media stuff out of this episode, at least for now, because there's a lot of backstories. There's a lot going on with her mother just trying to, get her daughter's, being a voice for her daughter, but she can't because she's under a gag order and they shut down all of her social media due to lawsuits and all. So we're not inclined to sit here and comment on any of that. But I will say this, Aubrey Wyatt, she was 13 years old. She is survived by a brother and a sister. She was an eighth grader. And so she was in middle school in Mississippi, this was. So that's just a very small touch of her background. But the biggest thing about her, she's leaving a real mark on social media through her mom, who really, as a mother would. I mean, I don't know how anybody would react. Everybody's going to have their different way of reacting. And if you're losing one of your children, honestly, how do you handle it? There's just no way. And everybody's going to do it differently.
Yeah, with her mom, like the posts that, she has like that are still up, as far as like keeping going, I just feel like keeping Aubrey's name alive and, keeping on for her siblings, like her other children, is what's keeping her going at this point in time.
Yeah. And I think with our episode again, I want Aubrey Wyatt. I want that name to be remembered and heard. And it's just one name. And I'm sure there's thousands upon thousands of other names out there. But, the main thing is we need to stop this. Now, I was just talking to you off the air just before we went live. We were talking about our demographic as far as who is listening to this podcast. If there's anybody within that age range, if you're around, 13 through 17, say, just listen to us, hear what we say, because a lot of this is going to be important, because in the coming months, our podcast is going to focus a lot more on positivity and trying to stay away from this negative. And I think we have this very big anti-bullying, campaign behind it too, because this is a lot of the reason why, as far as we know, why Aubrey Wyatt decided to end her life, because it is constant tormenting. And for someone 13 years old, and how old were you when you went through? I forget.
16.
16. So you really were not that far off.
Yeah. I mean, I was going through bullying when I was her age, but my attempt was when I was 16. So
it took you a little bit longer and you survived long enough, but sometimes that builds up even more through those years. And when you're young, 13, there's so much going on and so much that you just don't understand yet, and it's tough, because right around 13, that's kind of your first taste. I'm a teenager. I'm going to start trying to do adult things, but these again are adult things. You're subjected to a lot more adult things. Your peers, everybody else around you, and you're so desperate to try and fit in, and you want to join certain cliques and all. I get it. We've all been through that. Not everybody can handle it the same way, and we need to be careful. Just exactly what it is we want. I think you got to remember, you're 13, you're 14, you're 15, you need to enjoy your life. Take steps to enjoy it rather than trying to always try to fit in. Be yourself. There's nothing wrong with being yourself. And the other side to that is, yes, there's going to be peer pressure. There's going to be idiots. There's going to be a lot of negativity. There's going to be people trying to pressure you into doing the wrong things. So the pressure is on you. We get that. And it takes a lot to start to understand and try to realize that some of this is not good. Hope I'm saying it right, because I think the real problem here sometimes is parenting, and I'm just going to call that right out. 13, a lot of times you don't want to connect with your parents. It's your first time wanting to be, a little bit more of an adult. Maybe not 13, but, definitely around 14 to 16, I would say. And there's, and I get it. You're going to rebel. I was a big rebellion. Believe me, I really was. But you're going to be raised, hopefully, the correct way. And raising kids to bully other kids or to make fun of other kids, this is the kind of shit that needs to stop. And it needs to stop now, because how many other people are going to, make that decision where they want to end their life because of your kid? And how long before your kid might feel regret over that and then want to take their own life? I mean, who wants to go through this by just saying, I'm better than somebody else, or my clothes are better than yours, or I look better than somebody else, and my weight's better than yours? And it's been a long time for me. Obviously, I've been around here longer. So I had a different upbringing, a different kind of set of social norms, I think, back then. We made fun of each other, but we knew how to handle it. But I always mention we did have groups, and we always had that person that we didn't like, but we let them be in our group regardless. it was just one of those things. We still allowed it because there was a certain amount of acceptance, but things have changed incredibly. And it's this stupid fucking social media, this where we're so connected to it that somehow we reflect ourselves through it. I'm losing train of thought, like, because there's just so much I don't understand. Because I mean, I went through the entire generation from its start to its, to where it is now, and I don't see it getting any better. I don't see where, social media is going to get better or where it's going to change, but it's trying also now. Like when you look at Aubrey Wyatt's mom using social media as a way to try and stop this or to call it out
and grieve.
And then that gets stopped, but all the bullying remains.
Yeah. She gets silenced.
Yeah.
How is that right?
There's literally stuff criminal going on the internet, on social media, and it's not even, no one even blinks an eye over it. But yeah, when you're trying to stand up and you're trying to stop bullying, or you're trying to grieve over a suicide and make awareness for it, and then you get a gag order. Now, like I said, I'm not going to comment on much of this because a lot of this, again, I don't know. And if I don't know, I don't want to, say the wrong thing. I'm not here to, pass judgment. I'm not here to, this is just based upon what, I read. But again, it falls back to social media. It's a social media issue. It's a generational issue.
It's so easy for kids just to hide behind screens and twiddle their thumbs and just put the words out there. When I was growing up, social media did have a big part of my bullying as well. But when I learned about social media, like when my generation learned about social media, it was stressed into our brains that once it's out there, it's out there. And that's just something that I feel like isn't bashed into children's brains nowadays. They just think that they can say what they want and then they delete it and it just gets taken back. That's not how it works. You read it and millions of other people read it. And then just because you deleted it, oh, well, someone who wants to be a jokester is going to repeat the same thing. It's just a continuous cycle that brainwashes somebody with, mental, maybe Aubrey, we're not speculating anything, but maybe Aubrey had some type of mental something going on where, she could have had anxiety and she couldn't handle it. So, she's getting fed all of this hate and bullying. And it's maybe she's someone who's like me, maybe she was someone who was like me, that it just suffocated her brain. And that is the power of social media and the power of words that parents are allowing their children to sit there and say about other kids. And who knows, maybe the parents didn't know. I don't know. Like we said, we're not getting into it too much. It's speculation. Maybe we'll know more when more comes out about it.
And I don't want to cut you off, but on that note, maybe the parents didn't know. Well, that's your fault.
That's what I was getting to. That is their fault, because you need, as a parent, you don't just hand your child a cell phone or a laptop or an iPad or whatever the hell it is and just free rein them. There's parental controls for a reason. There is limited screen time for a reason. And I'm not telling you how to parent, but if you're not going to monitor what your child is saying to another child or another human being, then you're doing it completely fucking wrong. And I'm going to tell you that straight up, because this little girl is no longer here because there were parents out there not watching what their fucking kids were saying to people. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be heated this entire podcast because this is a child who lost her life last year in September. And she is no longer here. She would be, I think, if I'm getting her birthday right, she would be 14 right now. She would be entering into high school soon.
Yeah.
This coming summer, like fall, she would be entering high school for the first time. She will never get her first homecoming dance. She will never go to prom. Her mother was ripped away from those special moments due to other parents' negligence on watching what the fuck their kids were saying.
And you have every right to be fired up over this, because I am too, because no matter how I look at it, I don't even like to use the word stepdaughter anymore, which you're way closer to me more than anything else. And I think the same thing too. Like, you probably could not be here right now because of
Yeah.
the same nonsense. And also, listen, who knows what else was going on in Aubrey's head, even with the bullying. Aside from that, who knows what was going on?
Yeah.
Maybe there was something else
Like I
going
said,
on and
yeah.
couldn't speak out or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. The tragedy of it is the fact that whatever was bothering her so much was was so, she was pushed over the edge by these idiotic nonsense that young kids think they're so much better than everybody else. And that's a parenting issue. And like I said, this is generational.
Mhm.
I could sit and say I was mad at my parents the whole time for always being in my stuff and all, but they were doing what they felt was right and they were keeping on top of me. And I can't
Mhm.
say that that's a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing because look at me.
Mm-hmm.
My mom literally watched every single thing I posted on any type of social media. My mom had my passwords to my AIM, my AOL, like my email. Like my mom had everything and if I posted something that was even remotely aggressive, my mom was on my ass like, you better delete that and you better fucking apologize. It's so old timey to say this, but my mom always said that saying that people say like sticks and stones may break my bone, break your bones, but words will never hurt. But my mom's like, that's bullshit because words do hurt. Words push people over the edge. And that was embedded in my brain. And like I said, even when I remotely would be rude to someone, even if they were being rude to me first, my mom was like, cut that shit out. Because my mom watched and she didn't allow me to become a bully because I was being bullied.
Right,
My bad.
exactly. But we really need to start watching because you could say, well, even before the internet, people were doing this. You're absolutely
You're right.
right.
Mhm.
They were. But the thing is, right now, the accessibility to go further. It was one thing to go into school. You could, at times you were within a group, like in a playground or something, and you could be bullied. But then it was just small doses. Not saying that it's correct or anything, but I really feel for some reason that this social media has given so much more access straight into the personal lives of people that it's getting out of hand. It's no different than giving somebody access to, your front door and allowing them inside of your life at all times. And that's where I feel suicide is growing. The bullying is growing all because of this social media, this internet, this, it stems from this. It stems from this. I'm sure there's other things, but I'm just trying to look at it generationally. Yes, we can use internet for good. We could use a lot of things for good, but us as humans, we keep finding ways to weaponize everything instead of using it for good. I've learned that I don't like Facebook. However, I can actually use it to my benefit. There's ways around it. There's ways to shut things out. But with the social media now, for somebody who is so young and not really, thinking as an adult, yeah, you're going to wind up, you know, thinking incorrectly
Mhm.
and then having people on top of you all the time, judging you, pointing things out to you. You're fat, you're too thin, you're not wearing the right clothes, you smell, all these childish things that as adults it seems innocent, but when it's constant and it's always there every time you log in, because now, I mean, you got to log into everything, even for schoolwork now and all. People have access. And look, and aside from the suicide, kidnapping, it's so much more easier. This entire sex trade, it's all done through luring people that, young children, because they just don't have the, common sense yet. and they're being manipulated and they're being kidnapped and all. And that's what I'm saying. If you're a parent and you're not aware of what your kid is doing on the internet, well, shame on you. I don't want this stuff to happen to you. As a matter of fact, I don't want it to happen to anyone. And hopefully, I mean, we're just a stupid podcast, but we need to get this word out, and we need to all look out for each other.
Mm-hmm.
We need to look out for other kids. If we see a child being followed by somebody that doesn't look right, say something, do something. We just become a nation where we just whip out our cell phones and videotape somebody being kidnapped.
Yeah.
And that's it. Nobody steps in. Nobody helps. Yeah, we might have video footage of it, but the child's gone. It's become a very frightening world. And people like Aubrey Wyatt, their name is going to, hopefully change things. You would hope.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that people would, once this story reaches people, I hope that they would take a step back and, if they see that their child is, struggling, get them the help they need. Don't stop fighting and fighting and fighting. If the school doesn't want to listen, you go to your state senator, you take it to where it needs to be to prevent what happened with Aubrey to happen to your child. Or if you see that your child is, even if it's something small where you hear your child making a dig at your friend or at their friend or something like that, that's a sign that if they're doing that to their friend, that they're easily going to do it to somebody that they don't like. So you need to watch that and you need to correct that. We need to, as a society, especially as parents, to teach our children to be kind and that it's okay for kids to be different. It's okay for kids to wear glasses. It's okay for kids to have messed up teeth. It's okay for kids to be skinny or chunky. Everyone is made in their own way. Some people have medical conditions. It's okay to be different. If we were all the same, the world would be so boring. We are made the way that we are supposed to be made. And it's time for parents to stop showing their children reactions to different types of people, because that is what creates bullies. Children notice everything. They hear and respond to things more than people realize. I have a 2.5-year-old, and we have said stuff, and we're like, then we'll hear Caden repeating it right after us. And I'm just like, oh crap, and then, luckily he's at that age where he will forget. But, I try my best to filter myself already, even when my child's 2.5, because, sooner, it's coming up soon that he's going to start remembering words. He's going to start remembering, oh, mom said that person is this, or mom said that person is that, out of anger. Sometimes I'm like, oh God, what a bitch. I'm not going to do that, because that opens my child's mind up to that vocabulary, to think that it's okay to use that towards other people that he might just not vibe with. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you have to like everybody, but if you don't have anything nice to say, don't fucking say it at all.
It's a very simple concept. Yes, you do have a right to not like somebody, and that's all good and well. That's how we decide, who's right for us, who's wrong. There's energies based off of that. But yeah, just because we don't like someone doesn't mean we need to wish harm on them or wish ill upon them
or badger them
or drive them to the point where it's so overwhelming that they decide to take their own life. We don't know what's going on in people's heads. And just speaking of that, anybody who is listening to us right now, if you do have any of these thoughts, listen, Hannah and I, we're not therapists or anything like that. Please, what I really like, there's two things. If you really do feel like harming yourself, you can call 911 and do so. But if you do want somebody to talk to, one of the greatest things that is set up, instead of having a long phone number, you can dial 988 for help. All right. 988. Or if you don't feel like talking, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking and we're so used to, texting, you could contact 988lifeline.org and then you could chat. All right. But please keep that number 988 if you
Mhm.
are feeling like harming yourself, or if you have any kind of thoughts, or you just need somebody to talk to, because everybody does. We all wind up at some point feeling bad about ourselves. We don't feel comfortable with ourselves. Sometimes we feel life is just so overwhelming. Yes. And because of Aubrey Wyatt, and because of this episode that we're doing, Hannah and I, we're going to take some time, because Eye Opener Society does deal a lot with life, but it's a spiritual, podcast as well. And we're going to focus a lot more on positivity in the coming months. We're going to have certain episodes dedicated to specific things, that are more positive, things that are going to uplift you, because I don't think that there's enough of that.
No.
And Hannah, you're the perfect person, spokesperson for this. You've lived through it, and you lived. And, that's a very strong statement, because not everybody has. Aubrey Wyatt did not.
I get like choked up talking about her, because it makes me think, like, if I knew her, like, how much I would not allow her to give up. You know what I mean? Like, if I knew her, I would like hug her and just tell her, like, I made it through it. Like, I'm going through it. Like, you can do it. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I know I would probably have never met her in my life. You know what I mean? But it's just like, it gets me choked up, because it's like, if I could have, I don't like to think about the what ifs, but when I see a story about a little girl who went through something that I did with bullying being so bad, especially with the social media, it just like pulls my heartstring so far, because if I would have known her, like, who knows? I could have told her my story and been like, you're going to go through it. It's going to be hard, but you're going to get through it. It's hard.
It is. But the thing is, right now, we have a voice.
Yeah.
We have a small platform.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully someone hears this as well. You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're really not. There's always somebody thinking. We did this show specifically for parents because I really feel that's where it all starts. We're doing it for the bullies, and you need to stop. And we're definitely doing it for those that did not make it, those that felt so overwhelmed that they had to take their own lives. We'll be a voice for them. We'll stand up for them. We'll stand up for everyone, between Aubrey Wyatt and anybody else. You can message us on Facebook. You can send an email, the Eyeopener Society at gmail.com. If you just want to, chat about something, tell us a story, tell us about your life, whatever it may be. But again, if you're really, really feeling depressed, and if you really need help, dial 988 or 911 if it's that much of an emergency, or you can use the chat 988lifeline.org. We're going, like I said, we are going to use Aubrey Wyatt as a catalyst for our future episodes, to change things up a little bit, to be more uplifting, to teach you more about positivity, to show you that you're good, you're perfect, you're fine the way you are. Everybody wants to change, and you can. That's not a problem, but it's got to be done the right way, and it's got to be because you want to, not because you're being influenced or people are bullying you.
Yeah.
We're going to give you a little more strength, some more understanding behind you. Like I said, our demographics, we probably don't have a whole lot, but parents, listen to us. Maybe you do have sons or daughters, that need to hear some things. Let them listen. Listen to our podcast first before you let them listen.
I do drop the F-bombs a lot. But
yeah, we do. But you decide what they're going to listen to. But listen to it. Maybe we say something that you could pass on to them. Again, we're just regular people, no PhDs, nothing. But this affects us because some of us, like Hannah, has been through it, and me as a stepdad, seen it. So it does. It brings up big emotions, and we need to do something about it. And since we have a podcast, gives us a small platform, Hannah and I both have voices, and we're going to use them.
I will not stop using my voice for that little girl.
Absolutely.
I will not. I will continue to scream her name until justice is served for her, because that's what she deserves. That's what her family deserves.
Yeah, a little bit of closure, something, anything. She definitely needs it. The family needs it.
She was a beautiful young girl, and it reminds me of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it touches me so much, is because I look at her and the first thing I thought of was she was so beautiful, and that's why people hated her so much.
Yeah, we do.
That's the fucking problem with today's society.
It is. And not only because we look, oh, this person's too beautiful. Oh, this person's too ugly. There's never a medium. It's always hatred instead of just a natural, hey, how are you? What's your name? What's your hobbies? Simple stuff like that where we can actually communicate and learn. We have so much in common because we are all on the same planet. We all come from the same universe. We're all made up from the same dust. So damn it, listen. Yes, there's bad people. We know who they are. We know when to stay away from certain people. But when we're in these settings, and if you as a parent and you're raising a kid and a kid is in school, you don't have them make fun of people. You don't have them bully people. You don't have
and
them.
Even if they are a bully, it's not too late to turn it around and turn them around and guide them on the right path to being a kind human being. Life is too short to sit and be rude and judge other people. You live your life for your own purpose, and your own purpose should not be to harm other people mentally, because that's what words do, and it can turn physical.
It can. And I'm hoping this reached somebody, hopefully, that needs to hear it. But Hannah and I, we are going to continue speaking about this stuff. We're going to continue speaking out against bullying. We're going to champion this entire anti-suicide, where we just want people to understand, to be happy with themselves. So again, if you need help immediately, then dial 911. If you need help, dial 988. All right. And again, if you don't feel like talking to anybody and you'd rather chat, you could text 988 as well, or you can chat 988lifeline.org. All right. And I'm going to make it a point to put it on our website. I'm not even going to give out our website. I'm going to use the name Aubrey Wyatt again in its place. And again, if you need help, try and get help now, immediately, before it gets too late. And from here on, like I said, Hannah and I will have certain episodes that are going to be dedicated to this. Hopefully we could get something together more on this entire Aubrey Wyatt, and we're going to team up with Chris Tell from Twisted Tales podcast, where we can actually do an episode that dives a little bit more into it. Again, we're not doing it because it's a social media thing and it's all over and we want to be part of it. We just want to do it, for Aubrey, because
she doesn't have her voice anymore. She doesn't have a voice.
And I think everybody else should stand up and actually use her name.
Say her name. Her mom was silenced, so she can't.
Right. Her social media has been shut down. And like I said, we're not in a place to talk about it right now. So we're just going to use Aubrey Wyatt as the name. Hopefully you do too. Use hashtags anywhere, find us on Facebook, Eye Opener Society. I'll start using a hashtag a little bit more too as well in the coming weeks. And stay tuned for more. And like I say, it's going to be more uplifting from here on in. I hope Hannah and I, we can hopefully help more people. I know we have. And that's what makes me feel good. And that's why when you brought this to me, I thought this was perfect for us to, again, maybe help and reach somebody that needs that help, or to hear something positive rather than, nonsense. So with that, Hannah and I, we're going to sign off on this episode, and we will join you soon because July is over. This is the last episode of July.
I know, that's insane.
It's insane.
We're going to be in 2025 in a blink.
In a blink. So yeah, we got a whole month of August coming up.
My birthday.
Yeah, it's going to be Hannah's birthday. And then Hannah's actually going to be leaving the country at the end of the month. So we're going to have to cram so much in. And just on a side note too, we've been trying to get, and again, reaching out to you, the audience. If you had a life-changing event, something that absolutely changed your entire perspective in life, we want to hear the story. Our email is theeyeopenersociety@gmail.com. And if you also had a near-death experience, We want to hear your story too as well. You can remain completely anonymous if you like. You do not have to come on the podcast, but we just really want this a little bit more background because we're planning on having some episodes in the future. We were trying to do it for this episode, but we did not get enough feedback. And I really think that Aubrey Wyatt is way more important. So that's why we changed things up. So reach out to us, theeyeopenersociety@gmail.com. Tell us your stories, either a life-changing event or a near-death experience. And with that, we hope to hear from you soon.
See ya.